Thank you for staying on the AM show with Bernice and Benjamin. It's now time to talk about this menace, streetism. We brought you a story earlier done by my colleague Justice Baidu, highlighting the situation these children find themselves in, many of them from neighboring West African countries. We try to explore why they're on the streets, what they go through, and also look at the angle of government intervention and whether government's plan to get them off the streets has chalked any success at all. Joining the conversation is Richlove Amamu. She's Central Regional Director of Gender. We know this is not an Accra problem. We see it in the Central region as well, in the Ashanti region as well. And so we want to talk about it holistically and find a way to resolve the problem. Thank you so much for joining the program. I must mention also that Alexis Derry, President of Social Welfare Association of Social Workers, is also on the line with us. Thank you for joining the program. Later, we'll have a lawyer, Kweku Pencil, on the show. So let me start with you, ma'am, Richlove Amamu. Tell us what the situation in the Central region is. Here in Accra, at least from what we observed, we see that it is worsening. Is it the same in the Central region?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. And I would like to say, my name is Mama Awotu Ajagba II, known in private life as Richlove Amamu. Thank you. With the issue of children living on the street, I think it cuts across. And in the Central region, we face that as well in the market, at the marketplaces. You'll be walking in the market and then a child will get closer to you and be begging for alms. You know, that is what they do in the Central region as well. So it cuts across. I think it's a global issue. What I would like to say, if you want me to say something about this issue, I will say, or should I continue to talk about it?
Please go ahead. Feel free, ma'am. Please go ahead.
All right. Thank you very much. I think there are so many things that contribute to that. That is one thing we should be looking at. Sometimes when we are treating some of these issues, we should also look at the causes. Why are they happening? Why are the children on the streets? These children, are they not having parents? Are they not coming from homes? These are some of the things we should look at. And you see children as young as 12, 10 years, 8 years on the street begging for alms. So I think this is lack of maybe parental responsibility. And when you look at the Children's Act at 560, the 98, and the section 3 to 14, it states clearly the rights of children. So the child has the right to live with to grow with the parents. The child also has the right to parental duty and responsibility. The child has the right to education and well-being. The child has the right to protection from torture and degrading treatment. So with the issue of keeping children on the street, I think they go through torture. We don't also look at the effects. When it comes to parents, most parents are single parents of late. So those children, most of those children we see on the street, they are coming from broken homes. Some are coming from the homes they are coming from adolescent homes. When I use the word adolescent homes, I mean their parents are adolescent mothers. So if the parent is an adolescent mother, the parents may not be able to cater for the children. So the children must be able to work to make ends meet.
All right.
That is why some of them live on the streets.
I'll come back to you for us to explore what you've mentioned. We know that there are many factors that contribute to streetism, and that is why there are laws, and that is why there must be enforcement of those laws, especially when it comes to children and their protection. Let me come to you, Lawyer Pencil. Have we done enough on the legal front to help these children who are on the streets get off and have a better life? Hello? Do I have Lawyer Kweku Pencil on? Can you kindly unmute your device?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Good. I am in a car, so please you forgive me for whatever shortcomings. But the point I'm making is that Ghana, we have no shortage of laws. On the contrary, we have more laws on every subject than possibly as many countries as you can have. In Ghana here, we've got the Children's Act, which is a legislation on its own that deals with children generally. We've got the Domestic Violence Act that devotes a special provision to children. We've got the Criminal Offences Act, which has a huge provision on how children must be treated. We have, even Ghana was the first country to sign the Convention on Children's Rights. The whole world, just come to think of it. So at the end of it, the problem does not have to do with the existence of laws to deal with all the various situations affecting children, including streetism. The whole of the problem has got to do with enforcement. Child abuse, all of these things, they are well catered for by our laws. Special provisions about even, children offenses. I mean, they are not. And please, a child by our law is any human being below 18 years. So all of these things have been well catered for. But then, how do we enforce the laws is the main issue. Even when we come to that, in fairness, I would say that we've got some institutions. And so let me put it this way. It's about institutional support and how to enforce the duty of this institutional support. Social Welfare Department, all of these agencies, indeed organizations. Now, only last week, I think must be your own station. I wouldn't recall, but there was a girl of about 16 or so years whose leg was swollen up to a certain point. They needed about 50,000 cedis for, was in a hospital, and they were, appealing to the public. I was asking myself, what is the duty of Ghana government in relation to such a child? Why do we provide all these heavy legal provisions, and somehow in between these provisions, we cannot know how to enforce? What's the government's own role, government's own responsibility? Parents, we know, yes. But even then with parents, somebody has to enforce them. We have fathers who are irresponsible as anything that you can think of. The law is quite clear what you can do in a situation where a father, a mother is being irresponsible. Maybe people need to know more about the law. Maybe people need to be encouraged to be able to access these institutions that exist for them. And the fact that they are not doing so is an issue. That's the real issue for resolution or for interrogation. I've had an opportunity myself. There was once, many years ago, about 10 or so years ago, I read a traffic light. There was this mad woman with a child behind her back as we carry our children. And on the child hand was a heavy boil. Let me tell you, all my instincts and wherever as a parent, as a human being, were immediately aroused. The first thing I did when I reached my office was to write a letter to the Social Welfare Department, virtually chastising them. They need to go around our street. Why would mad women carry children with them? And so forth and so on. This for enforcement. There are departments who are supposed, maybe they are overwhelmed. So I'm not really blaming them. But I'm talking about how all of us, you are in the press, obviously you see some of these things and you report. On your news, media, is that enough? Those are the questions we must be asking them. Can't we carry these things as pictures? Can't we carry these things as stories? Can't we carry these things, the institutions that are supposed to be dealing with them and following up to see whether indeed they are able to discharge their responsibility towards them? So, see, like the many problems that we talk of in Ghana, Hydra-headed. But Mr. Painter, at a time.
Right.
Yes.
Benjamin here. I just want some clarity on this. And sometimes it's because we pass the buck. It is the parent. It is this. Madam Richlove started talking about parenting. When you look at the Children's Act 560, and interestingly, it's been with us since 1998. How many years is that? 24 years. 24 years. And we're not executing what is in there. just to take snippets of it and to find out whether the state has failed in this regard. When you look at Article 16, it talks about even district assemblies protecting the welfare and promoting the rights of children within its area of authority. What are our district assemblies doing? It goes that low. But when you get to Section 18, and that is the real pointer, 18.1 says, for purposes of this act, that is 560, a child is in need of care and protection if the child is an orphan or is deserted by relatives, but the most crucial ones are F and G, is wandering and has no home or settled place of abode or visible means of subsistence, which is where the state must step in, and G is begging or receiving alms, whether or not there is any pretense of singing, playing, performing, offering anything for sale or otherwise, or is found in any street, premises, or place for the purposes of begging or receiving alms. This is happening. And everywhere you go, go to 37, go to Opebia, go to the New Plan, Achimota, they are everywhere.
Just Nima here.
So then the laws are useless to us because the state has failed. Am I wrong to say that?
Whom are you asking? It's the question
I'm asking you, Mr. Painto, because this is a legal...
Wonderful. No. You know, let me show you a story that is in the Bible on the occasion that Jesus, the Bible says, this lady who came in with a precious ointment, poured it on his feet, and then the disciples made within themselves whether that ointment could not have been sold and the proceeds used to give to the poor. Jesus said, as for the poor, you shall continue to have them with you. The laws have not broken down. The laws are there. But in constitutional law, issues arise as to what we call justiciability of certain provisions in our laws. For instance, the Ghana government is supposed to provide free education to every child, free basic education. Now, if the government decides not to do it, can I go to court and get an order of the Supreme Court to compel the Ghana government to be able to offer those? So those are how these issues resolve in practical terms. So that, for instance, we talk about the district assembly. It may take you, it may take me, it may take a child rights organization to go to court with the evidence that is got and then get a court to make certain orders. See, at the end of the day, the laws by themselves are unable to enforce themselves. It takes citizens. It takes people like you and I. And that's why I think that we all need to be more proactive than we have been so far, and so forth and so on. Because like I said, like you yourself said, you read the law. It is there. The district assembly, do they really care? Do they even have a support unit? Do they even have an office? Do they have an officer? Do they have somebody whose business and duty it is to ensure that they go around the community and look for these vulnerable children? I have my readout. I'm not saying they do not exist, but I have my readout, having regard to what I see every day on the streets in Accra. I have my readout. So it's about time. Having generated this discussion, maybe going forward, these are the kind of things that we need to be looking out for, and obviously looking possibly for lawyers on a pro bono basis to begin to test the law within the communities and the areas that these things are predominant or these things are going on. So that is how I think we can activate the law, to assist, all of us. So that's my view or my take on this subject.
Let me bring in Mr. Derry now. He's president of the Association of Social Workers. And we've heard Lawyer Painto talk a lot about whether social workers, district assemblies, all those mandated to protect these children are doing their job. Tell us your experience.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. Let me make a correction. I'm the vice president of the Ghana Association of Social Workers, and I'm also the executive director of Center for Development Initiative, an NGO working in the areas of the topical issues we are talking about. And for me, when the lawyer was talking, I was just laughing. The issue is not about the laws. In fact, if you look at the continental level, we have as many as 14 laws that deals with child survival and development, or child protection and promotion, or child well-being. If you come to our own Ghanaian context, we have no less than 11 legislations. I'm not talking about policies. I'm talking about legislation, enactment that cut across when it comes to child protection and child right protection and promotion issues. The fundamental issue are two. Number one, funding. Number two, human resource. When you talk about the district assembly role, it is not just asking the district assembly to take them away from the street, and the social worker have to conduct what we call social investigation report. No child is an island to himself or herself. They belong to family, whether the extended family or the nucleus family. Now, if we talk about streetism, there are two categories of children. We have children on the street, and we have children off the street. Those who are on the street, they will go back home. They have what we normally will call a minimal kind of a family. It could be disintegrated, not stable, and whatever description you can give to it. But at the end of the day, when it is called night, they will go back. Then we have those off the street. Those who are off the street is where they stay. They don't have anywhere to go. So these are the two categories. And for you to holistically deal with these issues, you need to look at the two. It takes the social worker, a trained social worker, to be able to do this. Lawyer Pencil knows that even within the children's, before you can even remove a child from any other hazardous situations and all that, it will take a social investigation report, which is more like the lawyers will call a social inquiry report. How many social workers do we have in the system? As we talk now, if you look at the Global Social Welfare Workforce Assessment Report 2015, in Ghana, there is one social worker.
Hello, Mr. Derry.
To a population of 34,000. In South Africa, there is one social worker to a population of 6,900. In Uganda, there is one social worker to a population of 2,900. So we
just to clarify, Mr. Derry, did you say that per the 2015 records? No, hold on.
The social welfare system as well as.
Mr. Derry, I just wanted to find out: are you saying the ratio is 1:34,000 in Ghana?
1:34,000. In other words, yes. Wow. In other words, there is one social welfare officer who, when we are all shouting and calling them to do their work, is actually rendering services to 34,000 people, not only on streetism. You have children who are actually also in need of adoption. You're talking about all kinds of things that the social welfare or social this thing is supposed to be doing. And not that we don't have them. We now have as many as 5 universities that are turning out social workers, and they are not being employed. The law on this whole issue is that under the decentralized system, social workers now at the district assembly are under the local government service. They are no longer under the Department of Social Welfare at the head office. You have the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection responsible for coming out with policies, laws. But where is the coordination? Where is the collaboration? How do they get feedback from the effectiveness or otherwise of these laws may exist on paper, but it's not working. You see, so for instance, when we all say, oh, what is the Minister of Gender doing and all that, we should rather be asking what is the District Assembly doing. And that is why under one of the statutory committee of the District Assembly, the Social Services Committee is a statutory committee, and the Social Welfare Officer is the secretary. Let's begin to take the problem back to the District Assembly. It is their responsibility. It is not that of the Minister of Gender at the head office. The Minister of Gender has a role to play. So for me, the major issue we are having as a country is not an issue of laws, as Lawyer Pencil rightly said. It is an issue of implementation. And if you take the Children's Act you talk about,
let me find out from you.
1998, it is actually an imitation of the British Children's Act of 1989. And I'm not surprised. In 1989, the British government enacted the Children's Act. When 9 years down the line, when we were doing ours, we literally look at some of the issues, which is not surprising because our whole social welfare and social work and social welfare system is mirrored on the UK system. So I'm not surprised about that. But you look at it and see the provisions are there. It is about implementation. And the only way we can implement is to have dedicated sources of income, dedicated source of funds for them. Honorable Otiko started the program we call Operation Get Off the Street, which was very ambitious, very, very innovative. But I stand to be corrected, but she was frustrated because the funding was not there. There was no dedicated source of funding.
All right, Mr. Derry, I'll come back to you. Let me find out from Madam Amamu, who is Director of Gender in the Central Region. He's mentioned Operation Get Off the Streets. Was that plan decentralized? Were you sent a copy or a strategy to undertake in the Central Region?
Thank you very much. The Department of Gender, we exist to implement the gender component of the sector ministry. So at the Central Region, we also have programs. We put programs in place. Let's take it. In the case of, we are more practical on the grounds. My brother was talking about, the social worker was talking about going back to the district assemblies and tackling the issues from that side. That means we need to tackle it. He's talking about tackling it from the community level. And with the Department of Gender, what we did was, at the community level, in the Central Region, was to establish clubs for parents to educate them. This whole issue of streetism and others, if you don't involve the parents to let them know the effect of what their actions against their children, this problem can't be solved. So what we did at the community level was to engage the parents and educate them on some of these things. We outlined the laws about children to them.
Okay, so ma'am, beyond the education, there are some children who are orphans. There are some children who have traveled from other regions into different ones due to peer pressure and all that. And they find themselves in situations where they need to beg to survive. So we get the parents' bit. But what else did your outfit do to protect those ones? Because the state knows. That's why there are laws, that there are some parents who will never be responsible, unfortunately. The world over, we have such parents. So for children who find themselves under the supervision and care of such persons, what did you do to protect them?
Okay, thank you very much. That is, we are speaking for department. Well, what we want to talk about, what we did or what we are doing. We work hand in hand with social welfare. So when we come across such issues, we alert the social welfare. And the director here also is very vibrant, and she also work on such issues. There are orphanages in the region that maybe such children are sent to. Recently, we had the issue of defilement cases and the rest. So when such cases also come up and the children we have to relocate them and the rest, we contact the social welfare as well. So at the regional level with the Department of Gender, if we get to know about such issues, some people will come to you and talk to you about it. You have to contact the social welfare department to take up those responsibilities because they are in charge of that. When that happens, we run to them so that we come together. So we work hand in hand. We collaborate and work together in the region.
Problem appears to need a multi-sectoral approach. There's the poverty element, so the economy should deal with that. There's the issue of abuse, and the law should also deal with that. Then for many Ghanaians who may be torn between giving that child beggar money or not, it's a morality and legal thing. We are a very religious people. So there are people who say that, oh, but I have to help them. It's my duty to do so. And so when they see that child and they give the child money, they may not be thinking that they are, participating in an illegality, breaking the law. How do we deal with the problem? It appears to be very complex when you have to deal with it from all the angles.
Is the question directed to me?
No, it's directed to Lawyer Pencil.
Okay.
Lawyer Painter, did you get that question, please? Please unmute so we can hear your response.
Okay, yeah. You know, I go back to what the social welfare officer said. He mentioned twice the issue of funding. I do not know what the best practices are, but these days it's common, for instance, to look at what percentage of the budget of a country is devoted to which aspect of the economy and so forth and so on. Because like he said, because like the things that you're talking about, if I meet a street child, I gave her 2 cities, gave her 3 cities, it's like dropping whatever, a drop of water in an ocean. It will not make any change.
It appears we've lost Lawyer Paintel there. And Benjamin, so it's quite an interesting picture that's being painted now. So there are many elements to this. So there are the parents who are sending their children out, using them as workers while they, quote unquote, lazy about.
Right.
You know, it's very common to see just on this stretch, the Nima towards... Osu, you know, the ring road.
I mean, they are dotted everywhere.
And you see the parents...
37, yes. Nima, Osu, yes. They are everywhere.
You see the parents seated and the children are begging and giving them the money. I'll share an experience quickly of a young boy I met in Kumasi. He looked very different from all the beggars on the street. He was well-dressed, well-ironed shirt, beautiful sandals. And so, you know, our curiosity was heightened. I was in the car with my family.
You're wondering, what is he doing on the streets?
Yeah, why is this guy begging? And he says, look, I actually was in a school in Takrade living with my auntie. There was an issue. I had to come to my dad in Kumasi. And he gives me a target every day to meet. So clearly, this young boy is being abused by his father. He showed me cane strokes on his back. If he doesn't achieve the target, his father will cane him. And that's why sometimes they get so aggressive, because the parents who are supposed to be working to protect them are actually letting the kids work.
Are the ones actually exposing them. We have Mr. Paintel back, the lawyer, and this is not the first time I'm hearing such a scenario, that parents actually put them there, and we see it all the time. We see these people coming through from Chad, Niger, and all of that. That's another phase of the problem and how to deal with it. But Lawyer Paintel, I just want to run this by you. What Bernice just spoke of is, again, in the law. And I'm going to make a point by this. When you look at 18H of the Children's Act 560, it says, so for the purposes of the Act, a child is in need of care and protection if the child accompanies. The first time I was talking about the children themselves willingly, voluntarily being there. But in this sense, accompanies any person when that person is begging or receiving alms, whether or not there is any presence of or pretense of singing, playing, performing, offering anything for sale or otherwise. This is like the new modus operandi of the parents will be sitting there, and then the children rather will go begging and sometimes molesting people, so to speak. What then should we do? I mean, imagine if we cracked down on such parents or adults or elderly people there. When you're found, you're incarcerated, it would stop. At least some level of it would stop. Is that something we can't do?
What? I mean, amazingly, if you go out of Ghana, maybe is not the best examples to give, but if you go to any country in Europe, if you see how parents fight for custody against the government, because the least thing, the government will take your child off you.
True.
The government will take your child. But then they've got these institutions that the child will be taken to, an arrangement for adoption be made. It's all part of our laws. Everything is in our laws. These people ought to be prosecuted. It is very possible that, like what the German said, if you got one social worker over 34,000 people, then the real issue is whether it's got the energy, the time, the resources to pick people off the street and to ensure their prosecution. I'm talking with the parents. So you know what? I mean, at the end of it, I don't want really for all of us to be frustrated. It's what they call the agents table. So, I mean, so many things to be done, but we have to do it one day at a time. Beginning with my own thoughts, I mean, upon reflection about these matters, is that we must take the government on very critically. We must begin to interrogate. We must begin to find out how much does the government budget at all for all of these provisions affecting children? Because somebody got to pay for all of these services. I'm not too sure. Apart from the Boston institution where children are locked up, pending criminal prosecution and whatever. Do we have a home? Please, we're not talking about the children's home, which is normally for orphans and whatever. Has the government got an institution where children can be picked off the street and be supervised and be taken off by the state without prejudice to arrangements that the state itself can make, for instance, for having these children be adopted and taken into homes? Those are the critical issues that we need to be doing. And like I said, some parents must be prosecuted criminally, quite apart from civil suits that parties to the marriage may bring against each other for negligence and for irresponsibility and so forth and so on. The social welfare department must be empowered to be able, I'm talking about empowered in terms of finances, resources, and so forth and so on.
All right. Lawyer Painter, I'll come back to you because I have a question just to follow up on what you said. But Mr. Derry wants to react quickly to what we've just been discussing.
Yes, I mean, I just wanted to let you know that the law has given power to the Department of Social Welfare, and for that matter, state social workers, and even any private social worker, to actually go to court and get a care order. You write the social investigation report, you appear before the judge, and you get a care order. And that care order will actually give you the power to remove the child from that situation that we have talked about. And as a interim measure, you can take the child to an institution like the homes, which is a temporary measure. In fact, as a government directive now is that we are, which is in line with best practice, we are moving away from institutional care to family-based care. And that is why the Children's Act was amended to make provision for foster care. So we have a lot of people who have been trained as foster parents, that when you come across situations of these children and you rescue them from that hazardous situation, then you take them, or these foster parents will have the opportunity. Unfortunately, the defect of that particular portion of the law is that, unlike other parts of the world, where foster parents are given some support by the state.
And that is a crucial point that Mr. Derry makes, because if you consider, Bernice, our economic situation, and even if someone wanted to offer help, you look at the economic situation, if you're not getting any help from the state to embark on this exercise, it means you are basically saying, I'm taking another mouth to feed.
And there even,
and that is going to have economic implications.
Yes, Benjamin,
so
but
you can get where he's going.
Yes, but there are even those who would say, I don't need any government support. Just bring them, I'll take care of them. But they are, what's the word? They lose interest because there's too much to do. You know, like he's saying,
it's like a minefield you have to navigate.
It's just too much. It's too much stress for them, because sometimes, like, say, you don't find a parent, you don't find a guardian. Some of these have come from somewhere. The social welfare is not able to identify them. You take the child, you train them. Then a relative comes from somewhere, says, I want to take them back. And you look at all the investment you've made in the child, and the child is going back into that situation.
So people, to avoid all of that frustration, they just wipe their hands off. And it again points to the failures, the cracks within the system. If it were more, you know, if it had more of a definitive scope, people would want to go into that. But I want to quickly get back to. Do we have Mr. Derry back?
You are talking about funding, my brother. The National Lottery, there's a provision there, but that is not the Lottery Act. That's specific.
I think, Mr. Derry, that we may have to reach you on the phone line rather than Zoom, so we can, because you're saying a lot that we need for the conversation, but I think technology is not helping us. So if we may, Mr. Derry, we may just reach you via the phone lines and then take it from there. And one thing I wanted to put to him had to do with whether they were indeed handicapped, because if they are saying this, then it means that regardless of the law, They are social workers. 1 is to 34,000, and with the paucity of logistics and everything, it means they simply can't work, even if they wanted to.
Yeah. Okay. And so there's another angle to this, and I'm going back to Lawyer Pencil on this. The other angle is that if the children keep coming and they don't get anything, they will stop coming. But because there's something to get,
right,
they come. And that's why I was raising the morality issue. Lawyer Pencil, do you think that for us as a society, this has been one of the biggest challenges in dealing with this? Because like I said, there are a lot of Ghanaians who feel like it is their moral obligation to support the poor. And so they don't even think about the legal aspect. They don't even think about the repercussions of the action that is keeping the child on the street. Do you think same?
Yeah, I would. The issue of morality is not complex. The point of the matter is that you look at a situation, you ask yourself, having regard to what you say, what you can do. When I look at these children, I know that the government got nothing to do for them. We've got all the resources. We know the social fact, which is that the social workers are completely unable, I didn't say incapable, unable to respond to them. Kensha, you look at the child, you look in the face of the child, and please, there's something about humanity that pushes you. And when you do what you do it not in the knowledge that what you are giving to the child is going to solve the problem, but at least you can take care of the child for that day. So, on the issue of morality, I will be honest that there have been times that myself I've indulged in it. But the bigger problem, of course, is that if the child were not there in the first place,
Oh, unfortunately, we seem to be having a challenge with Lawyer Pencil's line as well. But let me just say that your views are very welcome. Hello? Too bad that the line is problematic, but I was just saying that your views on this issue are very welcome. For those of you at home, shortly we'll be getting into the interactive segment of the show. You can call in, we'll be announcing the numbers very soon, and tell us how you think we can end this. If you've been listening to the conversation since it started, you realize that it's a myriad of issues. But quickly, we'll be wrapping up with our guests. Benjamin, you have a question for...
I have a question for Madam Richlove, and it simply has to do with, you're in the middle of all of this. You see things every day as a director for gender, children, social protection, and others. What is the next step? In 2017, we had a plan to get all these children off the streets. It is clear from what Bernice says that if the children come and they don't get money, at some point they'll stop coming. If the parents who sit there with them or escort them also come and they are arrested, they will eventually leave. What then are the measures that we can put in place to stem the tide of the situation? Because mind you, look, we hear some of them are turning to drugs. Some of them are being taken advantage of sexually. Some men, give them phone numbers. These little ones who are girls, who knows, maybe even boys may be affected, are then sexually abused. Some of them, on the back of what they are going through, may end up being, and I'm only using cautiously, armed robbers or something, things that we don't want to see. So what next for you and the system to deal with this situation?
Thank you very much. With the issue of, if it is about the whole country, I don't want to speak for the ministry at this moment, but I want whatever I will say to be directed to the central region. When I started with the discussion with you, I told you, we are always on the field and we know what is happening. That is why I said most of these issues are coming from the parents. I said something like that. Mm-hmm. And that is why we are dealing with the parents. Parents sometimes deliberately push their children to the street to beg for alms. So what we are doing here as a department, and we are not doing it alone, we come together with DOSU, we work with social welfare and others. So what we are doing is to warn the parent, to speak to the parents. We have involved the traditional authorities as well. We have educated the traditional authorities. We are speaking to the traditional authorities. That is what we are doing here, to be able to control the situation. Because when it comes to the central region, adolescent pregnancy is very high here. Defilement is also high. All these things contributed to those the problem, the challenges we are having here. And if we can control the situation, we have to educate the parent to be responsible. When parents are responsible, it will be difficult for those children to move to the street to beg for alms. And then some parents, what they are doing, what the parents are doing it, they even push the children when they beg for alms. When they come home, they take the money from them. And then the children go back to the street the next day. That is what some parents are doing. I went to a community when someone got up to tell me, Madam, bring the police to the community, because some parents are pushing their children to the men. So when the men comes back from Galamsey operations, they go to the homes of the men to go and sweep their house, fetch water for them, and then they also give them money. And when the children continue to do that out for free, they will definitely sleep with them. Working this thing, trying to deal with the situation practically, speaking to the people who are the main perpetrators of the act. We are speaking to them, dealing with them directly. So that is what the department is doing here. And I also told you we exist to implement the gender component of the sector ministry. So whatever we do here, it's credited to the main ministry. And when they make the policies and give us what we should do, what we should work on, that is what we work on in the region. So that is what we are doing here.
Thank you for your time here this morning. Richlove Amamu is Director at Department of Gender in the Central Region, and she's just been sharing with us practical things that are being done in her region to deal with streetism. I've still got Alexis Derry, Vice President, Association of Social Workers on the line. And wrapping up with you, Mr. Derry, you paint a picture of what happens in other countries. Sometimes when you read the stories, it's very heartwarming how people are willing to take in children as foster parents. Sometimes they may even end up adopting them and giving them a better life. So for you, you've highlighted the issue of logistics, finances. How do we practically deal with this issue of streetism?
Yes, I think practically we need as a country to relook at the funding mechanism for our social welfare system. I will not hesitate to propose that let's look at some of the taxes that we are taking. For example, the lottery tax, or we can even impose some taxes on things that cause lifestyle diseases like alcohol, like smoking. In some of the developed countries, they have looked at some of these ways and come up with taxes. And that tax must be dedicated. It should not go to the common bowl as usual. It should be dedicated. Look, when we were talking, when Lawyer Kwegu went to court and got directive from the Supreme Court for the operationalization of
and I guess this is another problem.
It all boils down to funding. Government was compelled to operationalize or put in money there, but government hands are very tight. Do you know that there is a report that has been authored that says that social workers in government institutions spend about 20% of their income to do state social work for the state because they are passionate about what they are doing and then they think about the welfare. So they're spending their money to do social inquiry report. They're spending their money to do home visitations.
Mr. Derry.
And all that because some of them, they are passionate look for educated source of funding and then make sure that yes, I was saying
I'm sorry, Mr. Derry, we
let's
have
look
to
for it.
interject. Your line is very unstable. Unfortunately, you're making very important contributions to the conversation, but technology is not our friend today. Hopefully, we can extend the conversation another day, but we appreciate your time here. We'll wrap up with you, Lawyer Paintel. We've painted the picture, we've suggested solutions, but for you, just as I put to Mr. Derry, what are the practical things we can do to ensure that these kids on the streets are protected? I'm sorry, Lawyer Paintel, you have to unmute your device again.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now. Please go ahead. Well, too bad, Benjamin.
Hello? Hello?
Hello, Lawyer Paintel. Yes, I was asking your concluding thoughts.
You're right. I said the law includes provisions for prosecuting people criminally. I'm telling you that from everything that our two officers have said, with my sympathies to them and the frustrations that they face, it does not appear to me that they are using prosecution as part of the practical efforts to eliminate or reduce this canker. And I believe that as long as this remains, you are talking, for instance, about having information about a woman who gives a child to a minor or whoever it is, and the question is, what next? Because see, unless one woman is prosecuted, the others will not do anything. Unless one person, sometimes there have to be what we call show trials. Once in a while, you arrest some of these people, take them through the whole procedure of prosecuting them. And when you've got one person behind bars, 13 days, 1 week, 2 months, it serves more as a deterrent than anything else. As many times that they are picked up the street and they come back, they just relocate because red. So please, and as far as we've got these laws, and these laws include portions, large portions for enforcement by way of prosecuting people who are liable for infractions of the law. Unless we begin to put that into clear practice, I'm telling you that everything that we are doing, you can have all the money, but people will find it more profitable to do what they have to do. In the last place, the only deterrent, the strongest deterrent is the fact of prosecution. And please let them begin to use prosecution as part of the instrument for correcting this societal canker. That's my own view of the matter. Other than that, the laws will not work. Everything else will not work. You put in all the money, it will not work. As long as people find it profitable being on the street. Yes, we can achieve some result by the other methods. But please, I pray that they are able to resort to prosecution also as part of the various efforts that we are all using. Yes.
Lawyer Derry, we're grateful. Lawyer Paintel, we're grateful for your time. And I would also like to say thank you to Alexis Derry, Vice President of the Association of Social Workers. And we also had Rich Love, the Director, Amamu, Regional Director, that is the Central Regional Director for Gender. We're moving the conversation forward, but we're coming to you. After the break, we'd like to find out from you what your take is on two topical issues. So the first one has to do with child streetism, so to speak, what we've just been talking about. How do you feel about it? What have been your personal brushes, encounters with them? And what would you like to see going forward? We also want to find out, have you had the experience when it comes to the e-levy, where you go somewhere and they say, we're not accepting, mobile money transactions. You have to pay via cash. Let's share our thoughts when we return on the AM Show.